So, as we know, everything is about balance. Everything is about balance. So, our psyche coming into balance, our emotions coming into balance, our hormones coming into balance, and also us coming into balance with our own inner masculine and feminine. We first receive this reflection when we first come into this world with our mother and our father. Now, based off of the way that the pendulum has been so swung into the patriarchal system, the feminine right now is being rebellious and swinging the pendulum far in the other direction. So that means being wild, releasing the chains from her psyche and from her body, freeing her sexuality, freeing what she wants to do with her body, so on and so forth. And this is a natural occurrence of the feminine coming back into society. Now, for us to be truly embodied within our feminine essence, we need to be connected to our own inner masculine and feminine. The gifts of the masculine is the gift of boundaries, of being able to witness, being able to observe. Now, obviously, in society, within the patriarchal society, the boundaries and the rules and the regulations has gotten to the extreme where we don't feel like we can liberate our bodies, liberate our psyches, and truly be free within our vessel in our connection to nature. Because if we do that, we can do that, but it will receive a lot of attention from the people in your surroundings because it's out of characteristics of what the patriarchy has created the structure for us to exist within. And so what is happening now is the polar opposite. And sure, you can walk down the street. You know, in many places in the US, it's legal to walk down the street topless. But to know, yes, this is liberating in a lot of ways, but to also know that there's going to be consequences, there's going to be a reflect back to you. And a lot of women are willing to do that right now because they're playing their role of balancing it and going into the extremes. I'm not saying that our breasts are extreme, but I'm saying that the way that we have been using our bodies on social media, maybe in public, in social environments, is that we're reclaiming this empowerment through our sexuality. But to be truly embodied in our empowered feminine is to be empowered in the fullness and the multidimensionality of who we are, not just needing to be sexual beings or just to be this overflowing feminine essence. It's also about finding your central column, your boundaries, knowing yourself, knowing your vessel, knowing how to use the high magic of who you are. I think that women feel that their sexuality has so much power that they walk into a room, or the way that they can wield this power with others, and they get a high off of it because they're feeling their power come back into their vessel, and then they become thirsty for it. And so that they continue to use this and able to relieve this quench that has been in their bodies and their ancestral lineage for thousands of years. Now, what is important for us to come into balance with is to recognize the aspects of the divine masculine that can help us, that is within us, to become more empowered as females. So like I was saying, the healthy boundaries. This is an example. My father was a very healthy masculine reflection for me. He was an amazing father. I didn't grow up with him. I grew up with my mother because they got a divorce. But when I would see him, he was an amazing father. Yes, he's human. He has his humanity. But from the reflection that I had of that divine masculine was that I learned healthy boundaries. For the feminine essence is this dancing, wild essence of creation that continuously wants to create and to reveal and to give birth. that is a part of our sensuality and our sexuality, and it is such an essential, beautiful part of our expression. But without the masculine balance, it's the wildness, the untamedness, and all of that. It can come into a state of being too yin, too imbalanced, and that our yang, our central focus, our central awareness, is what allows us to actually find true, deeper states of peace within our reality. And another example is that when I first met my partner, I was in that deep pendulum swing of being over feminine, overly emotional, because I had all of this stored emotion from my childhood and from my teenage years that I felt like I couldn't actually express growing up in a more masculine home. And so I had so much suppressed emotion that when I began liberating myself before meeting my partner, then I became over emotionally expressive, to the point that we females are able to create stories and stories and stories, and that's part of the beauty of our magic, is creating stories of worlds and universes. And so I would get lost in these stories, that I would feel this emotion and then spiral down these rabbit holes of telling these stories to myself, to my partner, and so on and so forth. And being with a very balanced, healthy masculine partner, he would be able to penetrate with the focus, with the column of awareness, and call me out and bring awareness to when I would be feeding my own suffering, feeding my own emotional turmoil. And so he created healthy boundaries for me, and in that reflection of within myself. And now I embody that for myself. I have deep integrity for myself. And that if I choose to reveal my sexuality, it is done very consciously with deep awareness of what I am doing and how I am doing it. For our sexuality is it is the most sacred essence that we have to share with others. And in my own remembrance of living within the temple, there were many different layers of the temple. There were beings who played the divine, equally holy role of being the sacred prostitute, of giving their bodies in this endless, overflowing wellspring of love. Now, if we feel and connect to that within this time, maybe the times were different then, the energies were different. If you do that now, you are signing genetic DNA agreements with people who are coming out of the dark night of the soul, who are working through a lot of genetic turmoil, a lot of genetic purification. If you truly, fully, unconditionally know that your vessel and your soul is able to transmute that, which takes high amounts of magic and deep awareness, then go for it. That is your holy role. But to bring deeper states of awareness of what you are agreeing onto, for you yourself are most likely healing your own genetic trauma, your own genetic lineage. For that is what we are doing here. We are clearing out the trauma so that the patterns stop with us, so that we don't need to pass it on to our children and the future generations. We are healing the past 7, and I think more than that. We are healing the entire lineage of our being and healing the entire lineage of the future. That is the nodal point that we are at. So, with that being said, we need to take high responsibility for our sexual creation magic and what we do with it and how we express it. For even revealing ourselves, again, listen to your role. For me, so far in life, what I feel is relevant for me in my own initiation is that my sexuality is deep within the temple, and that it can be shared with people and initiates who have gone through the many different passageways to get to this certain corridor within the temple, so that we can meet each other in equalized purity. And that is just one way to express it. I'm not saying one way is better or the other. All I'm talking about is bringing awareness to what is your role and what you truly feel called to, and that you don't need to be a sacred prostitute, whether that is in physical exchange, whether that is in visual exchange. For everything that we look at, everything that we take into our bodies through all of our senses is merging into our vessel. And so when people are looking at you and witnessing you, they are drinking you in. They are taking in your essence into their body, and then you become a part of them. And that's the illusion and the veils that get created through social media, is that we think that this is just an image, I'm not connected to it, here it is. But that's not true. As soon as we put our essence into anything, and someone receives that, whether that's a painting, whether that's a cup that you have made, or whether that is the image that you are sharing, people are drinking in that information and that piece of you. And so you merge with them. Now, we are all one, right? We are all one, of course. And we can see each other as the perfection of the fractal that is creation. We are all playing the perfect role that our colors, our frequencies feel magnetized to do. What I am talking about is that for us to truly show up in our deepest dharma is for us to come into true union of masculine and feminine within our beings. Also, with a reflection of the mother, our physical mother, our genetic mother, many of our mothers were overly masculinated because they were living within the patriarchal system, understandably so. And so they weren't as connected to their nurturing spirit, to their wild essence, to their creativity. And because of that disconnect, us being females, growing up in that and having this new revolutionary gene or DNA within our being on this precipice of the awakening feminine, we would reflect with that and we would rebel against that. Many of us rebelled against our mothers, but we weren't rebelling against them themselves. We were rebelling against the patriarchal masculine system that was infused into our mothers. It was so extreme that our generation of beings, many of our mothers didn't breastfeed us. This innate, natural thing, because of the patriarchal domination and programming that was embedded into them. And this innate natural thing that is one of the most natural things for women to do, they didn't do it. And so that's what I'm talking about. And so we females would rebel against that and become so wild and so sexualized with our expression because we didn't have a healthy, we did the pendulum swing against our own feminine reflection of our mothers. And of course, much of society didn't express their creativity, their artistic expression, their emotions, their passions, because the mother, the mata, wasn't expressing itself because it had so many boundaries and restrictions of their own inner masculine. And so then naturally, you see where I'm going with society and how it unfolded, in that we're afraid to express our deepest passions and emotions, and we try to suppress this holy fire of the Kundalini that really has been moving in us from day one. All of us have this essence. A lot of it lies dormant, but we have many waves of this essence within the column of our being. That really hits us during puberty, when our sexuality turns online and we are full of so much emotion, so much energy of this sexual Kundalini life force, and then we're told to suppress it. That's not okay to be within that essence. That essence isn't holy, or that you save it until the day that you find the one, and you suppress it until that day, and then you fulfill your purpose of creating children. There is an ancient mysticism to our sexuality that is lying dormant within our essence, and many of us know it, feel it, and yet we don't have the reflections of how to use it, how to wield it, how to be it. And the truth is that that is within our DNA, that is within our very essence. And so the more that we go within, tap within, connect to our DNA and our quantum way of being, the more that we can unlock the Akashic records and remember what it means to honor our sexuality, to honor our expression and the wholeness of our femininity, to be in the wholeness of what it means to truly be an empowered feminine being, an empowered feminine leader within this global shift, within this global change. And that we can find that connection to our own mother and father, that we may not have gotten certain nutrients or forms of balance from our physical mother and father, but there comes a point when we don't need to talk this out with them unless it is organic and natural, that we really need to talk it out within our own being to come into a space that we are mature, we are adults, and that we can look at these aspects within ourselves and nurture ourselves, be our own mother and father, connect to the divine mother and father of creation, and nurture that within ourselves. Last year, I went on a divine mother cleanse that I was consuming Ormus and other mother type substances, and I was completely nurturing myself back to the breast, to the womb, and from that re-healing my own relationship to my own divine mother within me. This is just an example of the ways that we can solidify that and come into more of a space of steady foundation so that we can truly be examples of balance in this world. And that's what I wanted to reflect with all of you. Deep love to all of you on this journey. And yeah, I honor all of you and the roles that you feel magnetized to play, for without you, we would not be complete as a family, as humanity. And you are perfect. You are perfect. All of our imperfections are perfect. It is a part of our offerings in our song. And I just wanted to reflect my song and my reflection. And so deep love and blessings.